Welcome back to Out of Left Field. An organization based out of Camp Hill, Pennsylvania is using sports to spread an important message that's saving the lives of young athletes and many others. Right now we'll learn their story and just how easy it can be for you to be a hero. Every year, the Peyton Walker Foundation has a presence at the PIAA District 3 Basketball Championships at the Giant Center in Hershey. This year, the foundation's president, Julie Walker, presented a video and gave a little speech during halftime of each game about the foundation's mission to increase awareness and survival rates for sudden cardiac arrest. After the games, when Walker got back into the office, she had an interesting email waiting for her.
I got an email from a mom who watched us. She was sitting in the stands and watched our presentation, and yesterday in her dental practice, someone collapsed in cardiac arrest. She knew to do CPR and she knew to use the AED and knew how to do it because we had just shown thousands of people how to do it at the Giant Center.
That's another life saved, credited to the foundation and credited to the legacy of Julie's daughter, Peyton. Peyton wanted to help people. In fact, on November 2nd, 2013, she was wearing a t-shirt that featured this quote, "What we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others and the world remains and is immortal." There's a reason that date and shirt stand out to those that love Peyton Walker.
In 2013, Peyton was actually a sophomore at King's College studying to be a physician assistant. She wanted to work in healthcare. And after we lost her without warning to sudden cardiac arrest, we knew we had work to do to try to build a legacy in her name and really to save other families from the absolutely devastating heartache that we live with now. So we started the Peyton Walker Foundation.
While they were shocked by her passing, the Walker family did know Peyton had a heart issue. It was genetic, and Julie has it too. Her advice to her daughter would ensure Peyton lived a full life that would inspire others.
I was diagnosed with this heart issue when I was 28, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to let this heart issue define who I am and I'm not going to be this person who is hampered by this heart issue. And I kind of, as a mom, drilled that into Peyton's mind and her mentality as well. I said, look, there's a few things that you're not going to be able to do, but there is unlimited potential for things that you can do. And those are the things that we're going to focus on. And it's all about your mindset. And so she would complain because she couldn't play basketball. And I'm like, oh, but are you allowed to snowboard? Yeah, so go do that. So, I mean, I really think it was so important to try to stay upbeat and focus on what opportunities there are instead of things that you can't do. And Peyton, she pushed the envelope on everything. She loved four-wheeling in her Jeep. She and her dad would go out and do, anything crazy and wild there. She's snowboarding, rock climbing. So all these adventurous things that she found as a great outlet to do, and she absolutely loved and thrived on the adrenaline stuff.
One thing that stood out to Peyton's family in the early days of the foundation was the fact that sudden cardiac arrest is the #1 killer of student athletes in the United States.
But we did learn two things. Sudden cardiac arrest can happen equilaterally to athletes and non-athletes. So across the board, it can happen to any kid. And we also figured out that it's a lot easier to reach athletes and parents of athletes than non-athletes. We've got a captive audience, an attentive audience. So we kind of started figuring out, okay, especially after the Damar Hamlin incident when he collapsed on the NFL field, I thought, you know what, all right, there's a huge opportunity to take this incident that was witnessed nationally. Even if you didn't watch football, people were tuned in, right, to watch that and see what was happening. So at that moment, I really thought, okay, we need to take this message and go nationally. And we really kind of morphed our work and efforts into this Huddle for Hearts concept, where we are partnering with athletes at all levels to use their platforms to share messaging and help raise awareness about sudden cardiac arrest.
And so the foundation gets the word out whenever they can, and they donate as many automated external defibrillators as possible. They provide several heart screening events for young athletes, including one at King's College in Wilkes-Barre that occurs every fall, and they work with the Big 33 Football Classic to make sure all of the athletes that play in that game are screened. They were also able to make their voices heard in Harrisburg.
For PIAA, we were able to get Peyton's Law passed so that all students that participate in athletics across the state of Pennsylvania, there's information on that pre-participation form that students and kids or students and parents have to fill out. And it's info about sudden cardiac arrest and why it's important to ask for a heart screening and get that electrocardiogram. So information is key. It's so important for parents to understand what to watch for, why this is important. So it's a great educational opportunity through the PIAA in that regard.
Dr. Prasant Pandey is a cardiologist with the Lehigh Valley Health Network. While he says sudden cardiac death is relatively rare when it comes to student athletes, he offers this advice to parents.
You can't always pick this up and you can't always alter this by just, focusing on diet and exercise and a healthy lifestyle. You have to do some kind of screening test. And first and foremost, if there's any family history of somebody young in that family, I even go out to just the immediate family and say cousins or relatives and not much further than that. I would say to get yourself some kind of a screening with a cardiologist that involves at least an EKG.
He adds that this is what parents should look out for.
Yeah, sometimes it can happen randomly without any symptoms that first episode, that time, but the things to watch out for are with cardiac, if you're having symptoms with exertion, you should not really pass out in the middle of running, and that would be like a red flag there. Things should get checked out before they continue to play the sport. So just exertional symptoms, or like I said, if you have a certain fitness level, and all of a sudden you find that you could run a certain distance and now you can't even jog around the block, and something's not making sense with shortness of breath.
The Peyton Walker Foundation's website has more information for parents and athletes, and they also have videos teaching how to perform CPR and use an AED. The foundation also has a strong social media presence, and while you're scrolling around their pages, you may see photos featuring a young woman named Alicia.
At the PIAA playoffs, we introduced Alicia. She is now 12 years old, but when she was 10 years old, so just 2 years ago, she was roller skating, like any kid does, just out enjoying a roller skating event at one of our local rinks, and she collapsed in the middle of the rink in full cardiac arrest. We had donated an AED to that facility. They hadn't, had it available. That AED was used to save her life. And knowing that, her life was saved and her family was spared from this devastation, that's why we get to work every single day.
There's a lot to learn from the legacy of Peyton Walker, like not to live in fear and always be ready to help others.
I actually was just messaging one of my dearest friends, and I shared with her the information about the save that we had through the PIAA, and somebody saw our video and knew how to do CPR. And I said, what, here's another example of someone who is alive because my daughter is not. And that's very harsh to the listeners to hear that, but the legacy that we have built in our daughter's name, and we don't even know how many lives have been saved. It is truly remarkable. The number of lives that have been saved because Peyton is not with us. The work that we're doing in her name is absolutely incredible, and I'm so proud of what we're doing, and I think Peyton would be really proud of the legacy that we've built in her name.
Again, for more information on the Peyton Walker Foundation, go to peytonwalker.org. When we come back on Out of Left Field, we'll get to know Michael Galacco before he plays in this year's Big 33 Football Classic and before he heads off to continue his football career as a tight end at the University of Buffalo.